Mm. Hold on, y'all. Hey, everybody. If you are just tuning in to Facebook or YouTube, what's up? It's your girl, Coach Missy, and we're doing something a little different today. I'm actually recording an audiobook at home in my jammies. so, you'll get to see me. I recorded one yesterday in the bathroom. I recorded Girl That's Not Your Man. Today, I'm working on a longer one chapter, my first chapter book, which was Good Morning Sunshine. So, you'll see me pause, like you'll see how I'm doing it. I just got a microphone, a good microphone I bought off of TikTok. I have a lot of microphones that I bought over the years, to be honest with you, but this is like one of the best ones when it comes to doing sound. I'm actually on TikTok. Yeah, I'm about to cancel this TikTok and go live on my main page. Let me see. So we're gonna go back and go live on the main page and record the audio book. Let me see. Oh, okay. Flip it. And I think I got at least 2 hours to work. Hmm. So y'all, this might be a little boring for y'all if y'all watching, but at least y'all get to hear the story and that all that jazz. I'm gonna flip the camera around to the back, and we're gonna make that. So we're gonna do that like that. All right, y'all. Why the fuck is my phone hot? Or I can't win for losing. All right, y'all. Let's get into it. What's up? What's up? What's up? Let's get into it. Story number one, American Airlines Flight 256. Maybe this 72-hour date won't be a total waste. Jaden and I had a pretty good Friday. First, we went to breakfast, then the gun range, now back home for a nap and some afternoon delight, and now dinner. While we were getting dressed, I specifically asked Jaden who he had dated within the last year, and he said no one. Matter of fact, he was adamant that he had spent all of his time building his business and he had no time to entertain a woman. I reassured Jaden that he could tell me because I have always been open and honest with him about my dealings. So this would be no different. Jaden repeatedly denied any relationships, so I left the subject alone. One thing that you will find out about me is that things have a way of revealing themselves to me. Been like that my whole life. Kind of a gift and a curse. I dropped the subject and we went to dinner. Dinner was good, and the owners of the restaurant were great. We were the only patrons, and the owners are originally from Texas, so we had a lot to talk about. I made a TikTok video about my 72-hour date before we left the house, and to my surprise, the video was blowing up. I showed the video to Jaden. He thought it was funny, and we headed back to his home. Once back in his living room, we decided to watch a comedy special on Netflix. I laid back in Jaden's arms and smiled. No sooner than I had closed my eyes, the doorbell rung. I raised off of Jaden so he could answer the door. I knew he had a great relationship with his neighbor, so I didn't think twice when I heard the bell. Jaden gets up, casually strolls to the front door, looks out the peephole, turns around, and sits back on the couch. I look at Jaden with confusion and I ask, who is at the door? Without blinking an eye, Jaden says, my ex girlfriend. Your ex? When the fuck did that happen? I asked as the chick on the other side of the door is ringing the bell. Jaden politely turns the TV up and attempts to drown her out and says, oh, we broke up a couple months ago. Now, before I go into what happened next, I feel like I should go back to the beginning, and not the beginning of the 72-hour date, but the beginning of how Jaden and I met 2 years ago. I feel Jaden received a bad rap on TikTok, and he deserved for his entire truth to be told. So here we go. Story number one, American Airlines. Okay, hold on, y'all. I hit the wrong button. What's up, Buttercups? I'm doing I'm recording an audiobook. So that's why y'all can't see me. Hi, just sit back and listen. It's story time. All right. It's April 2019 and I'm driving my hold on, shit. God damn it. It's April 2019, and I'm driving to tutor my last family for the day when I received a message from this guy named Jaden, who is here visiting his brother while they finalize their new business plan. Jaden lives in Georgia, but he has been in Ohio for the last month. He's looking to make some friends to hang out with, and I'm cool with that because I'm moving back to Texas soon and I don't have a need for anything permanent. Now, Jaden fits my dating standards 5'10 or taller, chocolate, facial hair, legit income, personal vehicle. We agreed to meet at a nearby restaurant, and I'm kind of excited because it's been 2 months since I had a date. My breakup with the mailman in February was a messy one, and I needed some time to myself. I was missing a man's touch, so hopefully I would land dinner and dice. Fingers crossed. First of all, what the fuck is dinner and dice? Y'all know I had COVID when I wrote this shit. Now I gotta go back. Hold on. What the fuck is that? I was missing a man's touch, so hopefully I would let. Hold on. The fuck is dinner and dice? It's supposed to say dick. I was missing a man's. Let me start from right here. I was missing a man's touch. I know you. I know you fucking lying. All right, hold on. I was missing a man's touch, so hopefully I would land dinner and dick. Fingers crossed. Now, I was running late from my last tutoring session, and Jaden beat me to the restaurant. As I walked in, I was unimpressed by his plain look. If Walmart had a mascot, this would be him. There was no flash or pizzazz to Jaden, just a clean cut, well manicured, straight leg jean wearing man. I immediately took sex off the menu and decided to enjoy his company and the food, then hightail my ass to the house. I was so ready for the day to be over that I sat down and picked up the menu without speaking. Since we were the only people in the restaurant, the server came right over and asked us for our drink order. Before I could tell the server what I wanted, Jaden excused the server, grabbed the top of my menu, pulled it down, looked into my eyes, flashed the prettiest smile I had ever seen, and said, "Hello, Misty. I'm Jaden." Here's the crazy part, y'all. I had agreed to meet Jaden for dinner via text. We had never had a phone conversation. When he said my name, my heart dropped because I had never heard my name said so sweetly in a Jamaican accent. Suddenly, I saw Jaden in a completely different light. His smile was electric. His hands were soft like butter. His gold necklace glistened under the dim restaurant lighting. And that's when I realized that he wasn't plain, he was pure, a pure gentleman. And what he lacked in pizzazz, he made up for in grace. I was intoxicated by his touch, and I didn't want him to let go. I didn't care about the drinks or the food. I just wanted him to hold my hand. We laughed and talked for hours. The food was okay, but I was more interested in Jaden and his story. I wanted to invite him back to my house, but I wasn't getting that vibe from him, and I didn't want to run him off. So when he walked me to my car, I settled for a hug. As he wrapped his arms around me, I felt something hard and heavy press against me. Now, normally I can pick up on BDE, that's big dick energy for the girls who don't know, but I had drawn a blank with Jaden. But here we are in the parking lot, holding each other so tight that I could feel his heartbeat. And I had to ask, is that a gun? Or are you happy to see me? What's up, Buttercups? Oh, let me put a little sticker on the screen and let y'all know that I'm recording my audiobook. Hold on, y'all. Y'all want to see me record this goddamn book. Y'all want me to take the picture down. I can't have shit. Hold on. Let me put a sticker and say recording audiobook. Y'all want to see my rabbit ass record this audiobook. I'm actually live on YouTube and Facebook with the camera where they can actually see me with the camera. What's up, y'all? There you go. Recording audiobook. The book is available on Amazon. What's up, yes? And all right, let's get back into it. Okay. Where the fuck was I at? Shit. Oh, okay. Okay. I know where I'm at. Ready? All right, let's get back into it. Jaden stepped back, looked at me, and raised his shirt to reveal the most beautiful gun I had ever seen. Damn. Guess I'll be sleeping alone tonight. I texted Jaden once I was in the house, thanked him for a loving evening, and called it a night. 2 days later, I got a phone call from Jaden asking for a second date. Our second date was exquisite. Jaden found an upscale restaurant and brought me flowers. We had planned to go to the movies, but time got away from us at dinner and we were late. So I invited him back to my apartment. My kids were at their friend's house spending the night, so we had the place to ourselves. I came in and headed straight to the bedroom. No need to bullshit. I wanted to know what Jaden felt like. The lights were off, and Jaden had laid down next to me with his clothes on. I was naked, and I wasn't sure if he was ready. Jaden rubbed me from head to toe in a sensual manner, and just as I was getting ready to turn over and fall asleep, I felt his skin touching my skin. And with one quick leg flip, he was inside of me. And I can't remember the last time I felt something so big. And, oh shit. Hold on. I fucked up. That's an ass. Hold on. Hold on. And, oh shit. Hold on 1 second. Big. Okay. I'm sorry right there. As he is on top of me, my body is confused because I'm experiencing pain and pleasure. Jaden is hitting spots that have never been touched before. My damn hip had started going numb. Now I understand why he was so plain and calm. He actually had BDE, big dick energy, and I was ready to take it all in. Jaden and I must have had sex for at least 30 minutes when he finally finished. I didn't want him to leave because I didn't feel like locking the door, but he said that he didn't want his brother worrying about him. What is y'all talking about on here? I'm reading a book. This is my first book. Damn. Hold on. Because he had never stayed out all night. So I happily hugged him and walked him to the door. He called me once he was back at his brother's house, and I fell asleep with a smile on my face for the first time in months. That next morning, I was happy as hell, cooking breakfast, cleaning up, all that good shit. When my kids came home, they automatically knew that I had got some the previous night. My daughter had the nerve to try and give me the pregnancy talk. I laughed my ass off because it's never that type of party. Over the next couple of weeks, I saw Jaden on a regular basis. He even met my kids and had volunteered to drive my daughter to her boyfriend's house for a movie date. I think he really wanted the kids out the house so we could get physical. There were a couple of weekends that he would go back to Georgia to check on his place and handle his business, but he would always call and keep me in the loop. Jaden and I got so carried away that we both overlooked the fact that I would be returning to Texas in a couple of weeks. Jaden invited me to lunch one day to discuss a business proposal. I had shared with Jaden that I once owned a successful cake business in Texas and that I would reopen that business once I moved back. Unbeknownst to me, Jaden had developed feelings for me and wasn't ready to see me go. So while eating lunch at my favorite restaurant, he unveils his plans for us. Hey y'all having a good time? I hope so. Tapping is clapping. Can I get 1,000 fucking likes on TikTok? Tapping is clapping. What are we doing? Jesus. Let me check this sip or something. Tapping is fucking. This is a lot reading these chapter books. Now, reading Girl, That's Not Your Man was real easy, but reading the actual book is crazy. Shit. Mm. You know how long it's taking to do this? I ain't this just the first story. Damn. Yeah. Uh. All right, y'all. Thank you. Okay. Me. Let's get back into it. He would invest in my cake business and purchase me a food truck if I moved with him to Georgia. He also wants me to be the mother of his twins. Baby, you read it right. The mother of his twins. Now, I never agreed on having one baby, let alone two. But Jaden was so convinced that I was the perfect match for him that he was willing to help me build a business and a family in Georgia. I didn't know what to say. I mean, he met all of my qualifications, and I knew he had a good head for business. But Georgia was out of the question. I asked him for a couple of days to think about it. I mean, I liked him and I liked the plan, but my heart was set on moving back to Texas, and I had some unfinished business with my ex, South Dallas. So I had to go. Jaden respected my wishes and gave me a couple days. We met back up for lunch, and with tears in my eyes, I turned the offer down. I had already decided to return to Texas the following week and had job interviews lined up. As I sat in that restaurant across from Jaden, I saw the hope in his eyes die. For a minute, I thought he was going to shed a tear. Jaden reached over the table, held my hand, and told me that he would support me and whenever. Uh-uh. Hold on, y'all. Support. Uh-uh. Let me see. Me and whenever. Hmm. What part is this? Hold on. And told me that he was. And told me. So we're gonna start from there. Whew. Where was I at? And told me that he would support me wherever I was. And with a quick swipe on his phone, he had sent me some money to help me with my moving expenses. To this day, I'm not sure if I had made the right decision. Because of conflicting travel arrangements, that would be the last time I saw Jaden in person for almost 18 months. For the first month I was back in Texas, I spoke with Jaden every day as if I was going to see him after work. Then I decided to break it off because we didn't know when we would ever see each other. Plus, I felt like I was using him for money. I asked Jaden to delete my number. He said he didn't want to, but he would respect my wishes. We were friends on Facebook, but he never posted any updates. And after a while, I just stopped checking. I had started fooling around with my ex, so I had something to occupy my time. I would think about Jaden from time to time, but never enough to call him. 10 months had passed, and my ex and I were in the outs. Hold on, let's hear that again. In the outs. And my ex and I were. Hold on. Uh, y'all, this shit is really harder than it fucking look. I promise you that. Hold on. Where was I at? And my ex, okay. And my ex and I were on the outs. It's dead smack in the middle of the lockdown, and I'm so bored that I start scrolling through my contacts. And whose number do I see? Jaden. Before I could even think about it, I had called, and to my surprise, he answers. And all I hear on the other side of the phone is, "Hello, my dear. What do I owe the pleasure?" And all I could do was say, "Jaden, I miss you." Jaden and I talk for 2 hours, and he fills me in on his business growth, and I catch him up on my life in general. We talked about my job, my kids, my love life. I tell him about all the drama with my ex and listen and gives his input. Ha, no, hold on. What the fuck? Wait. And listen and hold on. And he listens and gives his input when asked. I wasn't having that day, and I didn't want the call to end. Jaden and I spoke at least every other day. We would video chat, and I would send nasty pics to him while he was on the road. Life was good. When my birthday came around, Jaden surprised me with the most beautiful gift that he could find. Hold on, let me go ahead and switch this page. It was 2 bottles of wine and an orchid plant. I just loved it. We had started discussing me visiting Georgia, but we could never get the dates right. And I didn't want to give up on Jaden. I had lost him before and I was determined not to lose him again. During our phone calls, I would ask Jaden if he was dating anyone, and his answer would always be no. He did admit to having sex with an ex girlfriend around his birthday, but he said it was a one time deal. I was always assured Nope, that ain't it. Hold on.
I was always
Mm-mm.
I was always assured. Nope.
What the fuck? Hold on. Uh, hold on. I always assured Jaden that he could tell me anything because we were friends first. When I moved into my new loft, Jaden surprised me with the washing machine and dryer, which I really needed. And I knew that we were back on track. So when I received a call from Jaden stating that he wanted me to come visit in January, I could not turn him down. And that brings us to the story of American Airlines Flight 256. I arrived in Atlanta late Wednesday night because I wanted to at least get a full 8 hours of work done before I left Dallas. I was super tired when we landed, and all I wanted to do was go to sleep. Jaden had pissed me off because he was late picking me up from the airport. Jaden was normally on time, so this was unlike him. By the time I got into the car, I was hungry. So Jaden rode around and found us something to eat, which kind of lightened the mood. And by the time we got to his place, I had fell asleep in the car. When we pulled up there, I was expecting something different. However, I was just happy to be there. Like this was like a fairy tale for me because it had been 18 months since Jaden and I had talked about seeing each other. And here I was on a Wednesday night after midnight walking up the steps. How y'all doing? Y'all doing all right? Just listening to the story. Sometimes, now I ain't gonna lie, I wanted to get somebody else to do this fucking narration because I definitely have found some people on Fiverr. But y'all be talking about y'all want to hear my voice. Now I am reading this very. I think the next story I'm gonna get real. And the next story I'm gonna be like, listen, that last chapter, bitch, tore me down. I really want to talk real on this one, but I'm trying to be. Oh, hello, how are you? Welcome in, looking ass. Okay, back to the story. I know y'all like that whole crazy. Back to the story. Jaden was a complete gentleman, offering me some water and snacks. When we walked into the house, I was exhausted. I just wanted to take a shower and get into bed, but not to go to sleep. I wanted to feel Jaden inside of me once again. Jaden looked a little different from the last time I saw him. He had definitely gained some weight, but I think everybody gained COVID weight. So I really didn't think too much about it. But he had cut off his hair. Ah, shit. Hold on. What the fuck? About he was now cut his hair off, but as long as he had his beard. Hold on. What the fuck? Let me listen to this again.
Now he had cut off his head.
But as long as he had his beard, I was okay. See, I was so anxious in the shower and I was hoping that when I got in the bed, he wouldn't have any clothes on, right? So once I crawled in the bed with no clothes on, I discovered that Jaden had on shorts and a t-shirt. So I thought maybe we could do this in the morning because he was probably tired. But once he put his hand on my leg and he saw that there was nothing but skin there, he came out those clothes as well. And we definitely had a good time. The sex was amazing. I remember lying next to him laughing, honestly thinking to myself, I could get used to this. Now, the next morning, Jaden woke me up to let me know that he had a doctor's appointment and that I could stay in the bed. When he came back, we were going to breakfast, and then I should put on some comfortable clothes because we're going to exercise. He did not want me falling off of my exercise regimen just because I had came to visit him. As soon as I woke up and realized Jaden had left the house, I did what any red-blooded American woman would do. I went snooping around, right? I just wanted to be aware of my surroundings as far as I could tell. The only woman that had ever been there was his daughter. There was nothing else that would say a woman would. Oh, shit. Y'all, I wrote this book when I fucking had COVID. Hold on.
Nothing else that would say.
That would say lived there. A woman had lived there, even visited. The next day, we visited the river walk and went to breakfast. And then we went to lunch and came back to his house and took a nap. We were ordering in dinner on Thursday night because he wasn't feeling good. I was happy to see Jaden, but I was upset by the way the date was going because he had planned activities and did not ask me what I would like to do. So basically, he was taking me places that he normally takes his daughter when she comes to visit. And the problem with that is that I'm not a 10-year-old girl. Jaden would pick up on the fact that I was unhappy. So on Friday, he decided to ask me what I like to do, and I wanted to go to the gun range. On Friday morning, Jaden had another doctor's appointment, which was his physical therapist, and he left me at the house again. I wanted to start a social media account to talk about my dating adventures, and I felt like today would be the good day. As I was going to make the video, I noticed a small white box that was plugged in the outlets of every room. Now, at first, I thought they were just really fancy roach motels until I took a look closer and I realized Jaden had cameras everywhere. I was instantly scared, not scared of Jaden, but scared of what he might have saw the day before. He never mentioned to me he had cameras in the house, and I did walk all around the house on Thursday when he had left. So now here I am sitting on the couch trying to figure out how can I tell my story without telling my story. And then I made a TikTok text to speech video that a lot of you guys saw. Once Jaden retires, oh shit, girl, did y'all buy this fucking book? I'm gonna have to write this book over. This bitch got so many typos in. Y'all, if y'all don't know the backstory, I guess I need to put that into my introduction. I literally wrote this book when I had COVID. I like the reason one of the one of the main reasons I wrote this book. I ain't trying to bullshit. I really thought that I wasn't gonna make it. And I was like, Lord, if you take me up out of here, at least I'll have something to remember me by. I wrote this book on my iPhone. That was probably iPhone 13 at the time. Something back in whenever COVID. This book came out in 2021. Yeah, so I wrote the book while I was at home by myself in the loft with COVID. And girl, I had a fever. I wasn't eating. I was hallucinating. So these stories is crazy. I'm gonna have to do a re-release of this book. I'm gonna clean the bitch up and do a re-release because what the fuck? I'm reading this shit like what? What bitch? What? After he retires and y'all love me. Y'all love me real bad because y'all just bought the book and read it and shit. Oh my god. Mm. I ain't read these stories in a long fucking time. Golly. What the fuck? Hold on, y'all.
Once Jaden retires, once Jaden retires,
Okay. Once Jaden returns is what I want to say. Where did I stop at? Um, okay. Once Jaden returns from his physical therapy appointment and we were getting dressed to go out, I asked Jaden if I said, what the fuck? Hold on. I asked Jaden, who are you dating here in Georgia? Okay, hold on.
to go out, I asked Jaden,
Who are you dating here in Georgia? Jaden said, again, I'm not dating anyone. I said, Jaden, you are a grown ass man. You have to be doing something. I told him that you could tell me about the. Hold on. What? I told him I could tell you about the dust on some of the product in your bathroom that your regular girlfriend she was cleaning my ever. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, hold on.
that you
Could tell by the dust on some of the product in the bathroom that you don't have a regular girlfriend or she would clean up. However, you have to be doing something. And Jaden told me with the most honest look anyone could ever give me that he was not dating anybody, that he was building his business and he didn't have time for all of that. I left the subject alone, right? And we went on to enjoy our day on Friday. That evening, we came back home and we had sex. It wasn't the most stellar performance. However, it got the job done. And then we decided that we were going to head back out for dinner. Right before leaving for dinner, I asked Jaden again if he was dating anybody. And he always had the same answer, which was no. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and take this little picture off of the TikTok thing because I got a feeling you whores want to. I'm going to go ahead and take my little picture off. Let me flip the camera around. I think I flipped the camera around. Hold on. Shit, I don't know. Let's see. If I do this, oh, you see me. I'm gonna go ahead and put y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and put y'all. I'm gonna re-release this book. Um, Probably in 2026. It'll be the 5-year anniversary. I re-released the book in 2026. I'm gonna put y'all up here. Nah, don't me ask me no fucking questions. You see me working. Ooh, where did I stop at? Y'all can at least help me and tell me where I stopped. What the fuck? Oh, once we get back. Okay. Let me see.
which was no.
Once we got back from the restaurant, we were laughing and joking and decided to watch a comedy special on Netflix. And then as we were getting comfortable and I laid my head on Jaden's chest, the doorbell rings. Now, this is the part of the story that I started in the beginning, so let's get into it. Jaden walks to the door casually, looks out the peephole, turns around and comes back, sits on the couch, and turns the TV up. I look at Jaden and I say, "Who's at the door?" And Jaden looks at me and replies, "My ex girlfriend." First thing out of my mouth was, "What the fuck, Jaden?" Right? How did you go from not dating anyone to having an ex girlfriend the whole time? I'm questioning him. And baby, old girl was on the fucking bell. Now, y'all, I'm going to read it. Listen, but I'm about to give y'all, I'm going to have to read it, but I'm going to have to give it to you. Straight T. Straight T, bitch. Okay, hold on. Now, side note, up until this point, I've been recording this audiobook and I just like, okay, guys, but now I got to give it to y'all straight T. I'm going to use my straight T voice. Boom. Now, here's the deal. Jaden's solution to the problem was to ignore the door and enjoy the movie. He said that eventually she would leave. Now, apparently, the young lady had stalked him for 3 months. I asked him how she got to this point, and this is what he said. I met her in August. We went out on a date. She seemed cool. So I invited her out the following weekend. She said she was cool with my work schedule and understood that I'm usually home on Friday nights and I pull out on Sunday nights. I had sex with her once, which was after the second date, and everything was going great. The third time we went out, we came back to watch a movie after dinner, and it was late. I received a call from my dispatcher to pick up a run that night. She was sleepy, and I didn't want to put her out. So I told her that I would leave a spare key so she could let herself out in the morning. I told her to put the key under the mat when she left. She agreed, and I headed out. I had no idea what she would do next. I came back from my delivery 2 days later and looked under my mat, and my key wasn't there. I had ordered some cameras for my house the week before, and my delivery was outside. I was only in town for 18 hours, so I decided to install the cameras while I was at home. I asked her to meet me at my truck before I pulled back out on the road. I asked her about my key, and she said she didn't feel comfortable leaving my key under the mat and wanted to return it in person. She reached in her purse and pulled out a key, placed it in my hand, and smiled. I opened my hand, looked at the key, and realized it wasn't mine. I handed her a gold key. And this key, that key was silver. I'm not a confrontational man, so I slipped the key in my pocket and called a locksmith. I didn't have time to turn around and go back home, but my cameras were activated. So I thought, what's the worst that could happen? I could see that she had become too attached too soon, and I knew I had to break it off once I was back home. Later that night, my phone notifications started going crazy. My cameras had picked up on movement in my home. I looked at my phone, and it was her and another female in my house watching a movie and eating snacks. I pulled her on the side of the road and watched in disbelief. She was so comfortable in my home as if she lived there. I watched as she served her guests out of my kitchen. I watched as she pranced around in my sweatpants, and I was shocked yet amazed, right, about who did she thought she was and what had I gotten myself into. I watched her for over 10 minutes before I called her. She picked up the phone, and in the calmest voice I could manage, I asked her, "Where are you?" She laughed and said, "Silly, I'm at home." I said, "No, you're at my house." The phone went silent. And then she said, I can explain. She went on to say that she had made a copy of my key just in case I needed her to check on my place while I was on the road. I explained to her that I never authorized her to make a copy of my key and that we are not in a relationship and that she was wrong to bring people in my house when I wasn't there and I needed her to leave. She was upset but left shortly after hanging up. Once I returned home, I had the locks changed and blocked her number. A couple of weeks later, she popped up at my door and I tried to reason with her, and that's when her crazy jumped out. And she's been a problem ever since. How long is this fucking chapter? Okay, we almost done. I sat there in disbelief. First, how could you invite me here knowing you had a whole stalker? But what hurt me the worst was that Jaden never told me about her. There had been numerous opportunities for Jaden to tell me about her. And just to think, a couple of hours ago, I had asked him if he was dating anyone, and he said no. By this time, 30 minutes has passed, and she was still on a doorbell. I told Jaden that there was no way that I was going to sleep like this. I had a flight to catch in the morning, and I was an hour away from Atlanta and didn't know nobody in the surrounding area. I felt like I was stuck. Jaden left me on the couch to get in the shower. He said he had a migraine and was ready to go to bed. I couldn't believe how calm he was. This was like a bad nightmare. Suddenly, the doorbell stopped. Jaden came out in his pajamas and said, "See, I told you she would leave." I decided to get in the shower. As I'm standing in the bathroom doorway trying not to cry, I heard a knock on the door and then the bell. I looked at Jaden. He looked at me. And I made a dash for the door. Jaden caught me in the living room, and that's when all hell broke loose. See, I was fed up with the whole situation. I didn't give a damn who heard me. I was cursing so fast that my words were slurred. I hollered at the top of my lungs, "You are going to call the police on this hoe tonight, Jaden. It's either me or her." The knocking stopped. Everything was quiet. Jaden looked at me and he said, "I will call the police." We went back to the bedroom. I started the shower. I could tell that Jaden was on high alert. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place. That must have been one of the shortest showers I've ever had. I felt so vulnerable. I had no idea what was on the other side of the door. As I slipped into the bed, the knocking started again, and I raised up and I looked at Jaden. He already had the phone dialing 911. 911, fire, police, or EMS. Jaden said, "Police." 911, what's your emergency? Jaden said, "There is someone outside knocking on the door and ringing the bell." 911 says, "Is it your door or random doors?" Jaden replies, "My door." 911 says, "Male or female?" Jaden says, "Female." 911 says, "Do you know the person at your door?" Jaden, while looking at the live video feed on his phone, says, "I have an idea of who it might be." Now, me with my crazy ass, I sits up in the bed and says, "Jaden, you got me fucked up." The 911 operator says, "Sir, is everything okay?" Jaden said, "Yes, that's my guess." Now the 911 operator snickers softly. She said, "Okay, sir. Would you like to speak with the officer when they arrive?" Jaden said, "No, I'm fine." 911 said, "Sir, we will send an officer shortly." Jaden replied, "Thank you." I looked at Jaden. I said, "We are done." Jaden looked back at me. He said, "I know." Now, I don't know when the officer showed up or if she was still outside. I barely got any sleep that night, and I had an alarm set for 6 a.m., knowing that my flight didn't leave until noon. My alarm went off promptly at 6 a.m. Jaden laid next to me, stiff as a board. I knew he heard the alarm, but he probably didn't want to get up, but I didn't care. I jumped out the bed and started turning lights off and packing my things. How dare he try to get some rest after the night of horrors I went through? By the time I was dressed, Jaden had thrown on some clothes and washed his face. Jaden grabbed my luggage and opened up his door slowly. I could tell he was nervous. I had never seen Jaden so shook. I made him walk outside first because if she was out there, he would have to deal with her and not me. That was the longest walk to the car I had ever had. I could tell that she was a piece of work by the way Jaden checked every inch of his car before getting in. At this point, I was scared for him. I was scared for him to even turn the car on. I believe the young lady lives in his complex because when Jaden drove out, he took a different street than he had taken in before. I started to ask him, but at this point, it didn't matter because I would never be back again. I fell asleep in the car. The ride from his house to Hartfield Airport was about an hour and 15 minutes. I woke up as he was pulling up to the terminal. Once Jaden had stopped the car, I hopped out and went around to the driver's side of the car to get my bag from the back seat. Jaden had stepped out the car and grabbed my bag. I grabbed my bag from him and looked at him. I couldn't find the words to say to Jaden to express my disappointment, so I just stood there staring at him. After an awkward 30 minutes, no, hell no. Hold on. After an awkward, hold on, y'all. After an awkward 30-second stare down, I turned to walk towards the door. About 3 steps in, I heard Jaden call my name, and I turned around to see Jaden standing there with his arms stretched out, wanting one last hug. I looked at Jaden. Nope. I looked at. Mm-mm. Hold on, y'all. I looked at Jaden with a tear in my eye and walked away. Once I was in the airport, I stopped in the middle of the terminal and blocked Jaden's number. This chapter of my life was closed, and all I could think about was my flight home, American Airlines 256. The end. Okay, that motherfucking story, Jesus, is 26 minutes long. Let me, that's too much. I don't even know if I want to do another one. Y'all enjoying this? Y'all having a good time? How y'all doing? I'm going to re-release this book in 2020. What is it, 2026? Wait, no, I did it. So I'm gonna re-release this book next year in 2026 because it'll be a 5 year anniversary of the book's release. So it's a lot of typos in this book. Again, I wrote this motherfucker when I had COVID, and this is my first time writing a book. So we will do a re-release next year. I'm actually gonna put this in my notes, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean the story up, and I'm actually going to add some back. I'm gonna give y'all some extra stuff. Would y'all like that? I'm gonna give y'all some follow up on the stuff with Jaden, because of course the story didn't stop right there with Jaden, but I'm gonna add some follow up commentary for that. Okay, I'm gonna catch y'all up. All right, so that was a story, American Airlines story, 256. And I'm going to go ahead and start on story number two, baby. 1995, period. I was 15. Let me take a little drink of water. Yes, I'm going to re release the book next year. Matter of fact, I should clean it up and re release it in January of 2026. That'll be the actual 5 year anniversary. Hmm. I think I'm going to go ahead because that'll be easy. I just got to clean up my original manuscript and add to it. That'll be easy. All right, y'all. Woo! Let's let's get into it. Let's go back and let's go ahead and work on story number two, 1995. Woo! Okay. Let's go. Is my mic still on? Yeah. Oh, I think I got a belt. Hold on, bitch. I'm out of snacks. I probably don't need no damn snacks. It's okay. I drank some water. And I think my appointments don't start to 5 o'clock. So I got time to do this story. Okay. Welcome back to Good Morning Sunshine, Volume 1. Damn. Now, what the fuck? Welcome back to Good Morning Sunshine, Volume 1, The Diary of a Serial Dater. Here is story number two, 1995. Now, before we get started, I do want to let you know that in 1995, I was 15 years old, okay? So I just want to give you guys some context before I get into it. You ready? Let's get it. Let's go. So tell me, how are you going to pull this party off, Misty? To be honest with you, Stephanie, I don't know. But I must invite both because they know I'm having a party at my grandma's house. So therefore, I need y'all to help intercept the fuck show. Everybody looked at each other and bust out laughing. I was so lucky to have my homegirls by my side, Stephanie, Nikki, and Tia. They're my ride or dies. In case you didn't, uh, hold on. In case you didn't, now I'm starting from here. The year was 1995, and I was turning 15 in 2 weeks. I had a boyfriend from another neighborhood most of my ninth grade year. His name was Jack, and he was super cool with my mom. But a couple of months ago, my grandmother had a break in at her house. Y'all, it was really my crackhead uncle who had came through the window while we were at church and stole the TV and my bike. But that wasn't nothing new. So anyway, she had to break in at the house and had requested an officer to come out so she can have an official police report for insurance purposes. Side note, my grandmother was a mess, but that's another book, girl. And the officer that came out asked me some questions separately about the break in and recognized that I was smart and an attractive kid who would be a perfect match for his son, John. So he gave me his son's phone number, and boom, I had two boyfriends. Now, Jack was much more advanced than John, but that was okay because I liked John's innocence. Plus, John lived further away from me than Jack. So I only saw John once a week, and while Jack might come over every other day, I kept my grandmother's phone hot. Carl Waiting was my friend, y'all. Now, my mom didn't know about John, but my grandmother was in the mix because her house was the meeting spot. See, my grandmother would just laugh and shake her head when she would see either one of them. But she played her part, which let me know grandma was a player back in the day. My mom and grandmother decided to throw me a birthday party for my 15th birthday, and I could invite up to 20 people. Too bad two of those 20 would be my boyfriends. I know what you thinking, sis. You didn't have to tell both, but hey, I wanted the gifts and I really wanted to see if I could pull it off. I told y'all I've been a mess a long time. Now, John and Jack were the only boyfriends I invited. Everyone else were neighborhood friends. My mom and grandmother spared no expenses on my party, and every day that passed made me nervous and excited at the same time. The night before my party, I had talked to Jack and John and told each of them that my favorite boy cousin, aka Jack and John, would be there. And I didn't want them to get jealous if my favorite cousin was in my face because he is my favorite cousin. Those conversations with Jack and John were my first time I blatantly lied and created an entire scenario concerning a love interest. And the crazy part is, I liked it. Now, I woke up that Saturday morning energized and excited. My friends had called me to double check the start time and to reassure that both Jack and John were coming. Now that I'm older and looking back on that day, I now understand that my friends wanted to see the entire day blow up in my face. Turns out one of my friends wanted Jack for herself, but I was the apple of his eye and she never had a chance. My homegirl showed up early to help with the decorations, and they wanted to be front and center when Jack and John arrived. The kids started coming around 3 p.m., mostly girls and a couple neighborhood boys, and then the doorbell rang, and I knew it was John. John was super respectful and wouldn't dare just walk in. Unlike most 15-year-old boys, John had facial hair in the deep waves. His hair felt as if it was made of silk, and when he smiled, the entire room would light up. One of my friends let John in, and all you could see were gifts. John had found the largest teddy bear I had ever seen and had purchased several other items. John had covered up his face trying to bring the gifts in, but once he set the gifts down and flashed that Colgate smile, the entire room fell silent. My homegirl looked at me and all she could say was, damn. I was so happy that been having baddies. Been having baddies. Ever since 1995. Been pulling. Been pulling hoes. Been pulling them hoes. Since 1995. Get into it. Okay. Mm. Y'all tapping and clapping. Let's get up to 10,000 likes. Oh, I had to just say that. Okay, I'm back. I had to say that shit. I'm back. Oh, Lord. Hold on 1 second. I got the belch. That's how you know I'm on some That's how you know I'm on some bullshit. I had the belch. Okay, let's get back into it. Oh God, that was a hold on, baby. That was my first time. Listen, on a side note, every 15 years, I didn't pull some bullshit like this. I did it at 15, 30, and then my last occurrence was at 45 or right before my 45th birthday. And that's when I had the pool party, and that's when I found Cardinal. So there will be no more stories. I will not be pulling no shenanigans when I'm fucking 60. I'm too old for that shit. But it turns out that every 15 years on my birthday, I pull some shenanigans like this. or it just happens to happen. Shit is crazy. Okay, boom. Let's get back into the story. Okay, hold on. John had arrived. First, the way I could introduce him to my friends and pair him up with one of my real cousins to keep him occupied discussing football once Jack arrived. About 30 minutes had passed since John had came in, which gave me enough time to hug and kiss John to make him feel special. Just as I was going in the kitchen, I heard one say, Jack, and I froze. My grandmother wanted me to start setting up the table so my friends could eat. I damn near dropped a pan of fried chicken. My grandmother snapped her fingers and told me to pay attention to what I was doing. Just as she was scolding me, Jack walked in the kitchen and said, Hey, Grandma. My grandmother cut her eyes at me and sucked her teeth in disgust and said, Little girl, you need to watch yourself. While my family was moving about the party in a normal fashion, my friends had their eyes glued on me, watching my every move, holding their breath, hoping that Jack and John would find out the truth. And what should be the happiest day in my year would turn into the worst day in my year. But your girl, I played it cool. We ate, laughed, and danced. I was even so bold to introduce the two. Can you believe I introduced Jack to John and hugged both of them at the same time and said, that each of them was my favorite guy? My friends couldn't believe it. One of my friends actually left early because she was in disbelief. Plus, she didn't have a boyfriend. So to watch me maneuver two at the same party was too much for her spirit. Now that I think of it, I never really dealt with her again after that party. Damn, that's deep. But anyway, back to the story. During the last hour, my mom decided it was time to open my presents, and I knew this would be tricky because my friends brought me normal teenage gifts, but Jack and John had gone all out, and my mom was the type of mom who wanted you to read the card out loud and take a picture with the gift giver. Keep in mind, this was before cell phone cameras, so my mom had tons of disposable cameras on hand, and posing with each person took forever. First, I opened Jack's gift up, which was nice. He had went to the mall and purchased me an airbrush t-shirt that said straight ballin'. Not bad. And had bought me a pair of all white Reebok classics, size 9, with extra pair of laces. And I know you're saying to yourself, sis, what cousin's gonna buy another cousin's shoes? And you're right. But remember, I had already told Jack and John that they were going to meet my favorite cousin who was like my best friend, and I threw in the fact that people think that he's my boyfriend since we are so close. See how I set that narrative? See, once the seed was planted, their actions towards me at the party seemed normal. Damn, I was smart. Now, I made sure to open up some of my family gifts before I moved on to John, just to clear the air and get everyone's mind off the bigger picture. Just as I was going to grab John's gift, I see my mom walk out the door and I hear her talking to someone. I put I put my party on pause to be nosy, and just as I walk towards the door, my stomach drops because the voice I hear is familiar, and I don't know how he knew about the party. I didn't invite him on purpose because I knew my mom would blow a gasket. But there he was standing outside his 1985 Monte Carlo, the second John. You heard me right. There's another John, the 18-year-old John. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I was dealing with two Johns and a Jack. I had met the older John at a high school basketball game. My high school was playing their biggest rival, East Tech, and everyone who was anyone was at that game. I was with my friends, and as freshmen, we were overwhelmed with all the boys. Hell, grown ass men that had filled up our gym. That night, I had on my Tweety and Sylvester black and gray corduroy jacket from the Warner Brothers store with black jeans and Jordans. Your girl was lit. Hair hanging down my back. You couldn't tell me nothing. As we were looking for seats in the bleachers, I locked eyes with John, the older one, and he no motion for me to come sit next to him. I politely declined because number one, there was only room for one, and number two, he was grown as fuck. After leaving the basketball game with my friends, we were walking to the bus stop. I was so happy that my parents agreed to let me ride the bus to my grandmother's house. That way I could hang with my homegirls longer. However, as we're walking towards the bus stop, I heard someone say, Tweety Bird, let me holler at you. It just so happened that one of the girls in my group went by Tweety, so she turned around trying to figure out who was calling her name. I never turned around because I figured it was someone she knew, and that was none of my business. As Tweety turned around to address the person calling for her, I heard the same voice say, Nah, sweetheart, I need your girl. Tweety tapped me on the shoulder and said, Misty, I think he wants you. As I turn around, I see the prettiest brown eyes and brightest smile on a lean chocolate 6'4" grown ass man. I said, "Sir, you are too damn old for me. Thank you, but no thank you." He leaned his head back and let out the loudest laugh before looking at me. And with his eyes closed, he said, "Calm down, baby girl. I'm a senior at East Tech." I let out a sigh of relief and I introduced myself. This is a good goddamn story, huh? Let's get into it. I'm gonna have to give y'all some updates on the people in this. Fuck. Okay. But anyway. Okay. I done got flustered. Hold on. Let's back down memory lane. Looking ass. Hold on. He offered me a ride home, but I declined because I didn't want any smoke from my parents or my grandmother. Plus, I'm the type of friend that believes if we came together, we are leaving together. We exchanged numbers at the bus stop. He even waited with me until the bus came. As I was boarding the number 19 bus, he grabbed my hand and said, "You're going to be my girlfriend." I smiled and watched him stare me down as the bus pulled off. I had given him my grandmother's phone number, but I didn't expect to see him again. We talked on the phone a couple of times and met up at a couple of basketball games. I told him I had a boyfriend and he said that he was patient and that one day my boyfriend would mess up and he would be right there. He had drove me to my grandmother's house after one game, so he had the address. But I did not think in a million years he would show up on my birthday. Now, my mom has always been a live wire, and she is the reason why I am who I am today. My mom had certain mannerisms that she would display before she would cut up, and I saw her rev up when the older John had showed up. Mom said, "How can I help you, sir? Are you here for Boo?" That's my older cousin who was 25 at the time. The older John looked at my mom. He said, "No, ma'am, I'm here for Misty. I brought her a birthday present." My mom said, "And how do you know Misty, sir?" The older John said, "Well, we met at a basketball game a couple months ago and we became friends." My mother looked at John. She said, "Does your child attend school with Misty?" Now, she was dead wrong for that bullshit. The older John started laughing softly. He said, "No, ma'am, I understand your concerns. I know I look older than I am because of my beard, but I'm 18 and I just graduated from high school last month. Would you like to see my driver's license?" My mother, with her hand extended, said, "I sure do." "John is your name, huh? Do you have a job, John?" That's a nice old school you driving there, John." John says, "Yes, ma'am. I've worked since I was 16 and my mom is a nurse and she gave me half on my car. I restored the car myself." My mother looked at John. She said, "Well, John, I would invite you in, but there seems to be one John too many at this party," while cutting her eyes at me. "Y'all got 5 minutes, and then Misty, I need your black ass back in this house to finish this party so these kids can go home. Somebody was short on deodorant and it's starting to stink." I look at my mother. I said, "Thank you, Mom." And my mom looks at John and said, "And John, keep your hands to yourself. I don't know you. Y'all better air hug." I could tell my mom liked him, but she couldn't let me know that because that would be too much like right. I looked at John in disbelief. Who just pops up at someone's house unannounced? I asked him why he didn't call, and he said he did, but my grandmother told him to call back after the party was over because I was entertaining guests. He said that his feelings were hurt, but he understood why I didn't invite him. But he couldn't let the day go by without bringing me something. I looked down and saw the prettiest red roses with a card and a gift bag. My cousin Boo had peeped the scene while my mom was talking to John. So my cousin Boo started playing music again and offered $20 to the best dancer so nobody would wonder what was going on. My cousin Boo was a G for that one. Let's get back into it. Outside. As I reached in the gift bag, I pulled out the softest Coach camera bag that I had ever felt. I couldn't walk in with flowers in a Coach bag. John urged me to open up my card, and $50 was inside. I quickly dropped the card in the bag and hugged John. And while in his embrace, I whispered in his ear, "Come back at 9 o'clock." John kissed me on my cheek and jumped in his car. As I walked back to my grandmother's house, my mom was at the door and she told me to meet her at the back door. I was confused as to why my mom had me go to the back door. Before I could step in the door, my mom snatched the bag out my hand and told me to leave the flowers in the back bathroom and pulled the purse out and started laughing. She looked at me. She said, "Oh, so you fucking now?" I said, "No, why would you say that?" She said, "Ain't no nigga gonna buy you a Coach purse and bring roses and he ain't getting no pussy." I was in shock. My mom had never spoken to me like that before. I mean, my mom was super raw, but she had never questioned me like that. She questioned me like I was a chick on the street. My mom said, "So you think I'm stupid, right? That man don't have a real job, Misty. That grown ass man is not your friend. He wants your body, and if you get pregnant, you are on your own. Don't fucking play with me." I said, "Mom, are you serious? I can't believe this." Now, at this point, y'all, I'm in tears. The entire time I was worried about my two boyfriends finding out about each other, and now I'm having to have a face off with my mom about the other John. My mom rummaged through the gift bag and pulled out the card. As soon as she opened the card, the money fell out. Knowing my mom, the money was as good as gone. My mom looked at me, picked up the money, and said, "Tell John I said thank you. I don't care about $50, but I know that my mom viewed me in a different light from that day on." My mom put the flower. Shit. Hold on, y'all. Hey, Bookie.
Hey, what's happening?
Nothing. I'm recording the book. What's going on?
Wait, not smoothie.
Oh, okay.
I talked to the dude. I talked to the cat from the house. And he said he came by there and he called or
He
whatever.
ain't came by shit.
But he said he came by, went through the alley and he called or whatever.
He called who? You?
Somebody, well, no, he talking about like his team already came through and cleaned it up.
He lying like a hoe.
And I said, well, if the team came through and cleaned it up, why they didn't clean the houses next door? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I take pictures and I have my evidence to say because I'm not paying that.
Exactly. And he ain't came by and knocked on shit.
No, he told me he came by and he called. You know what I'm saying?
Do you have a missed call from him?
Right. I had to check to see, but I got. I mean, true enough, I don't be answering numbers with no names. So he didn't wait a call. Ain't no telling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I was like, hey, we had a problem putting a thing on the door.
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to knock on the door. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. He full of shit.
Right. Right. So it is what it is. I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I should offer on the back of the ticket. I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm like, bro.
Okay.
I ain't got you. Yeah, he told me that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, them people ain't never came to my damn yard in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, my bad. Let's get back to it.
All right. I'll call you when I get done.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Bye. All right, y'all. Thanks for holding. That was Cardinal. My bad. Listen, that was Cardinal calling about the man who gave him a ticket. Is hell, people on YouTube caught that work. Hold on. My mom put the mom viewed me in a different light from that day on. Hold on. All right, we gonna get back to it. Sorry about that. Okay, my story is story. Okay, I'm Cardinal. That man ain't came here. Fuck him. Okay, let's get back into it. Hold on. Let me take another sip. Mm, okay. My mom put the flowers in the coach bag in my grandmother's room and let me return to the party. I finished opening my gifts with no incident. John, my boyfriend John's, his dad had picked him up first and I walked him outside. We hugged and he kissed me on the cheek. That would be the last time I would see John in 1995. One by one, my friends started leaving the party. Jack stayed after everyone had left to help clean up, which pleased my grandmother and my mom. As it started getting dark, my mom offered Jack a ride home. Jack and I found time to hug and kiss on the lips. I walked Jack to my mom's car and he thanked me for everything. Hold on. Hold on. No, that ain't right. Me for everything. Mm-mm. Jack to my mom's car and he thanked. Mm-mm. I walked. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. I walked John to my mom's car and thanked him for everything. The summer of 1995 was Jackson and I last summer as boyfriend and girlfriend due to me being in a summer enrichment program that required me to stay on college campus Monday through Friday. Jack and I stayed in contact over the years. As nightfall came, I sat on the porch with my neighbor and best friend Chug. We talked and laughed about the party. As Chug was telling me about the dance contest my cousin created, I heard my grandmother call my name. My grandma said, "Misty." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Girl, come get this phone." I said, "Who is it? I'm talking to Chuck." She said, "Apparently it's somebody named John. Doesn't sound like little John that was just over here. Do you know another John?" I jumped up and ran in the house, almost snatching the phone out of my grandmother's hand. Out of breath, I grabbed the phone. I said, "Hello?" John said, "Hey, how was your party?" I said, "Good." John said, "Do you miss me?" I said, "Yes." John said, "I'm on the way." And that is the end of the story, 1995. Now, just to give y'all, I'm going to have to re-release this book. Just to give y'all a little insight. I saw Jack one more time after when we were grown. I'm just be real with y'all. Me and Jack did it. That shit was wonk wonk. No, thank you. We was grown. I saw John again. I actually saw John again in 2017. I had not seen John since 1995, since we were kids. I saw him again in 2017. Mm. And then the other John, I have to finish the other John, me and the other John's story. Um, our storyline picked back up when I was grown. So, mm, mm. Anyway, let me go ahead and title this story, story number 2. Y'all want me to start the next story, or y'all cool? Y'all having a good time? I am going to re-release this story too. 1995. Hold on. And you say yes to the story you just got here? Okay. Story number 2, 1995. And we gonna go ahead and start the next one. Which, oh, I know I'm not gonna be able to finish this one because it's too fucking long. You said Big John or Little John. Well, I hooked up anyway. Big John was the one of which our story continued. Is this your love story? No, this is my first book I wrote in 2021. This is the first book I wrote in 2021. No, this is not the story of me and Cardinal. Hell, that bitch still going. This is a book of my dating stories. Hell, that story just started. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna write about Cardinal, but he'll be in my last book called Soulmates. Yeah, I'm gonna write about Cardinal, but he'll be in the last one. All right. Like, hell, I just met hell. We just started fucking. No, let me shut up. Me and Cardinal just been dating for 90 days. Or we've been, hanging out. We made it official. We reconnected at my pool party June 21st. He made it official July 16th. I moved in August 16th. Here the fuck we are. Okay. Okay. All right, y'all. Let's get into it. Next story. Story 3, two of a kind. This is like one of my favorite story. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to the Diary of a Serial Dater. Story number 3, two of a kind. What do y'all want from this store? I asked my kids. They were always begging for snacks I didn't have. If we had brownies, they wanted fudge rounds. If we had fudge rounds, they wanted brownies. But I didn't mind my kids. They were good kids and they kept me laughing. So I tried my best to oblige them. I headed out the door and the crisp fall air was so refreshing that I walked past my Suburban and decided to walk to the store. I grew up in this neighborhood, so walking allowed me to see my neighbors and take survey of the subtle changes. Plus, I could always use some extra cardio. I hit the store and was able to check everything off my kids' list. As I headed back home, I felt a car creeping behind me. I didn't live in the best neighborhood, but I never felt scared. But today was different. I shifted my bags to one hand and placed my hand in my coat pocket as if I was carrying a gun. I was looking at my neighbor's house trying to figure out who was home in case I had to run up on their porch. I could feel my heart racing and I started sweating in the middle of my back. Out of all of the days I decided not to drive, this shit happens. As the car inches closer, I decided that someone who was going to cause me harm, the oh no, hold on, let me go back. Who was going to as if I was carrying a gun. I was okay, we're gonna start right there. I was looking at my neighbor's house, trying to figure out who was home in case I had to run up on my. Uh, fuck. Hold on. I was looking at my neighbor's house. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I was looking at my neighbor's house trying to figure out who was home in case I had to run up on their porch. I could feel my heart racing and I started sweating in the middle of my back. Out of all of the days I decided not to drive, this shit happens. As the car inches closer, I decided that if someone was going to cause me harm, the least they could do was look me in the eye. I stopped, and the car stopped. I knew this was it. I didn't recognize the car or the man driving it. I dropped the bags and snacks with my mind in complete fight or flight mode. The man rolled down his window, leans over the passenger side of his car, and says, "Hey, Butterball." Butterball? Who in the hell is Butterball? See, now he must have the wrong person. First, I resemble a Twinkie or a turkey leg. And the last time I checked, a Butterball was a whole damn turkey. I was relieved that my safety was not at stake, but now I was highly offended. I said, sir, do I know you? Have we met before? He replies, no, but I saw you come out the store and I waved, but you didn't see me, so I followed you. He said, wait, that sounds creepy. Well, at least I know where you live now. He said, hold on, that's creepy as well. I look at him in disbelief. I'm assuming he sees the bewildered look I'm serving, and he apologized and introduces himself. He said, hi, I'm Brian. Now, I'm still on the fence about him, but his smile is everything, and I'm not picking up that crazy vibe from him. So I say, well, hi, I'm Misty. Brian smiles and offers me a ride home. But we were literally 20 feet from my house, so I declined, and he says, well, I followed you this long. I might as well follow you home. As I walked up my driveway, I saw my kids in the window, worried because I had taken longer than usual. They came running outside like banshees, grabbing the bags out my hands, hugging and thanking me at the same time. I had forgotten that Brian was still in his car when my youngest son said, Mommy, who is that man smiling at us? And as I turned around, Brian was stepping out of his car, and I must say that I was highly impressed. As the kids ran back in the house, I turned around to see Brian standing there in all of his 6'4" glory. His skin was a rich cocoa brown color, and he had the fullest, curliest beard I had ever seen. His eyes danced when the sun beamed on his face, and his smile was radiant. I could tell that Brian was about his paper from his demeanor and his style. Freshly manicured hands paired with a dope ass fit was enough to make me stay outside just a couple minutes longer. He reached his hand out to me and said, Can I get a hug? I walked over to him and allowed this gentle giant to embrace me. My 5'5" frame was nestled tightly in his arms, and he fit perfectly. Uh, hold on. And he fit per- Mm-mm. And I fit perfectly on his chest. We must have stayed in this position for at least 2 minutes. His touch felt familiar, although we were strangers. While I was resting comfortably on his chest, he laughed and said, I see you like laying on this playground. I immediately jumped back, realizing I had lost myself in the moment and I didn't want to display my vulnerability too soon. I looked Brian dead in his eyes and asked him a question that I had asked many men before. How can I help you? Brian leaned his head back and laughed, and he said, there are many things you can help me with, but first, I would like to get your number so I don't have to stalk you anymore. Gas is high. I started laughing. I said, why do you need my number when you had an address? Brian said, so I'm welcome over here anytime. Wouldn't want your man to pull up while I was sitting outside. I said, that's cute. I'm single, so you don't have to worry about that. The question is, are you single? I'm sure you have a baby mama or a girlfriend somewhere. Brian replied, well, I do have children, but I'm not with their mother, and I've been single for the last 3 months. Anything else you want to know? I said, yeah. Why did you follow me home? Brian said, because you are the prettiest butterball I have seen today, and I had to let you know. We both laugh, and he hugs me again. The entire time I'm in his arms, I felt safe and loved. I literally lost track of time. We must have stayed outside for at least 10 minutes, hugging and talking. I needed this, and he needed me. We exchanged numbers. I promised to call him after I put the kids to bed. I walked in the house smiling from ear to ear, thinking to myself that I might need to walk to the store more often. As I'm putting up my youngest son in the bed, nope, hold on. As I'm, hold on. As I'm putting my youngest son in the bed, I hear my phone ring. I run into the room hoping it's Brian, but as I pick up the phone, I hear a familiar voice. It's Justin. He said, babe, what you doing? I said, putting the kids to sleep. What's up? He said, I'm trying to see you tonight. I said, damn, Justin, you know I need time to find a babysitter. What you trying to do? Justin said, hit the strip club and blow a couple bands. Shit, I might even throw some money on you tonight. I said, now damn, Justin, let me call my brother and my uncle and see which one of them will come and stay with the kids. What time do you want me to meet you at the strip club? Justin said an hour. I said, okay, bet. I called my brother who agreed to babysit and I started getting dressed. I love going to the strip club with Justin because I knew I was going to walk out with more money than I came in with, and that is never a bad thing. My brother arrives right on time. I kiss the kids and I'm out the door. I pull up to the strip club and walk over to Justin in the parking lot. He reaches down to hug me and rub my booty at the same time. I giggle a little, then we proceed to walk in. And Justin tells me to pick a booth while he exchanges his money for singles. I find the best seat in the house. The strippers are waving at me because they know I'm a great tipper. Just as one of the strippers approached my booth, Justin walks up with 10 packs of singles. Tonight was going to be a good night. As I was taking the band off the first stack of dollars, I felt my phone vibrate. Scared that it might be an issue with my kids, I put the money down and reached for my phone. I looked at the screen. Before I could answer, it says incoming call from Brian. Damn. I had forgotten to call him. He would just have to wait. I casually sent Brian to voicemail and resumed my date with Justin. We must have thrown at least $500 when Justin told me to throw the rest of the money in my purse because he wanted a private dance. As I was exiting the booth, heading towards the champagne room, Justin grabbed my hand and said, I don't want to dance from them. I want to dance from you. And we walked out the club. Now, this was my first time going to Justin's house. Justin was a drug dealer, so he lived a private life. I could always pull up on him in the streets, but I never knew where he lived until tonight. Now, in all fairness, he didn't know where I lived either, so for the most part, we were just hanging out. I had met Justin my ninth grade year, but he was a junior and a bad boy, so I kept my distance. My parents took me out of that school the following year, so I didn't run into Justin until last year in the after hours spot. We recognized each other instantly and have been rocking ever since. With the lifestyle that Justin has, he didn't have time for a girlfriend, and I didn't want to live that type of life, seeing that I had gone through the same thing with my children's father. But if I was looking for an all expenses paid good time, then Justin was the man. As we pulled up to his house, I began to feel nervous. I didn't know what to expect. Justin and I had never had sex before. All of our dates would end with a hug and a kiss, and that's it. Wasn't sure what he expected, but I was determined to give it all I had. As we entered his home, I was surprised by the warm feeling I experienced. There were family pictures everywhere. His son's toys were still in the living room. I knew he had invited me into his safe space, and I was honored. Justin saw me looking over at his family pictures when he came over to explain who everyone was. I saw his mother and his sister, nieces and nephews, and his kids. I felt as if Justin was opening up to me, and I liked it, but soon that warm and fuzzy feeling was gone when he grabbed my hand and led me upstairs. Justin's room was just as I expected, something straight out of Scarface. His bed had to be the biggest bed I had ever seen, but he was a big guy, standing 6'5" and weighing 250 pounds. He had two TVs in his room, and in the middle of everything was a bright and shiny stripper pole. That was my cue to start the show. I apologized for not wearing a sexy pair of shoes, but I promised him that this would be the best strip tees and a pair of Nikes that he would ever get. The music started. I bent down to tie my shoes, and the money started to fly. I must have danced for 3 songs straight. Now, I'm not the best dancer and I can't climb a pole, but we had fun. At some point in my routine, I decided to give Justin a lap dance, and that's when things started heating up. As I straddled Justin's lap, he pulled me close and fell back on the bed. Justin flipped me over and kissed me with every ounce of passion he could find, and we made love on hundreds of singles. Once we were finished, I got up and let him peel the dollars off of me. I went to the bathroom to clean up, and when I came out, Justin had gathered all the money into a huge pile. I figured he was ready to go since he had put his clothes back on, so I headed towards the steps. Justin called my name and told me that I had forgot something in his room. I walked back towards the door while checking myself to ensure I had all my personal belongings. Justin watched me in amusement and told me to come up and get my tip, $516 to be exact. The ride back to the strip club to pick up my car was different. I saw a softer side of Justin, and I liked it. I didn't want to assume that Justin viewed our friendship any differently, but I could see a difference in the way he handled me. I didn't want to get too excited, but I liked the way he made me feel. I decided to go with the flow. Once we arrived back at my car, Justin kissed me on my lips and opened my car door. I promised to call him as soon as I walked in the house. On the way home, I laughed to myself and thought, what a day. Had a bomb ass date with Justin and I met Brian. Damn, Brian. I was supposed to call him back, but it's like 2:43 in the morning. Maybe I'll text him to see if he's up, right? See if he'll answer. I act like I fell asleep early. It's worth a try. As I walk in my home, I see my brother knocked out on the couch. I cover him up and check on the kids. The kids' rooms were a mess, but I wasn't concerned with that tonight. I called Justin, and when he picked up the phone, I heard a lot of commotion in the background, so I knew he was at the after hours spot. I let him know that I was home, and he promised to call me later once he came back out. I jumped in the shower, slipped in the bed. Now it was after 3 a.m. I know damn well it's too late to text Brian, but I do it anyway. I send a text. I say, hey, it's Misty. I fell asleep early. I'm so sorry. Call me when you awake. Brian replied, hey, I'm up. I said, hey. I was so excited that Brian was texting me back at 3 a.m. I asked him about his day and what he likes to do. After a couple of texts, he decides to call, and we talked until the sun came up. Before we hung up, Brian asked if he could stop by later, and I happily said yes. The next day, Sunday, I woke up around 11 a.m. My brother had waken the kids up and made them clean up so that I wouldn't blow a gasket. Little did my kids and my brother know that I was on cloud nine. I handed my brother $100 for watching the kids, which was a far cry from the normal 30. Once my brother realized that I had paid him in all singles, he laughed and he said he didn't want to know nothing else. Around 2 p.m., Brian called and asked if he could come over. He also wanted to know if my kids were home, which is not an uncommon question. I replied, yes, the kids were outside playing, so we had some time to chill. About 30 minutes later, Brian pulled up. I unlocked the door and was waiting on the couch. To my surprise, Brian walks in behind my kids carrying grocery bags. I was confused, but the kids were smiling from ear to ear. I said, Brian, what is all of this? Brian smiled and gave the kids, nope, damn. Hold on. Brian smiled. Okay. Brian smiled and gave the bags to the kids and simply said snacks. Brian had literally gone grocery shopping for my kids. I was amazed that he would show this level of kindness so early in the game. After my kids put the groceries away, Brian reached into his pocket and pulled out four crisp $5 bills and handed them out. My kids were ecstatic. They ran out the door and promised to give us some space. I heard my oldest daughter tell the other kids that she liked this one and hoped that he was my main boyfriend. Brian and I laughed, but secretly, I was hoping the same thing. The kids kept their word and stayed outside for 2 hours while Brian and I sat on the couch and watched a movie while getting to know each other. Y'all, I'm probably going to go for about another 15 minutes, but I need to drink some tea or something because my throat's getting agitated. Hold on. The whole time I wanted to jump on Brian and kiss him in the mouth, but I didn't even know when my kids would come back in, so I had to keep my composure. I could tell that Brian wanted to touch me as well, but he was respectful. Just as my kids were coming in, I received a call from my grandmother asking if the kids wanted to walk down to her house and spend the night. I agreed to let them go and even let them take the groceries that Brian had bought. Brian offered to drive them down the street, but my grandmother had already started walking towards my house, and the kids loved walking with my grandma. Life was good. Within 15 minutes, the house was clear, and Brian and I moved our conversation to the bedroom. We sat on the edge of the bed in silence, unsure of what was going to happen next. So I lowered my head to avoid looking in his eyes. I hadn't felt this vulnerable since I was a teenager. Brian slowly reached over and touched my hand. Before I could make a move, he had kissed me in my mouth. It was soft and a subtle kiss at first, and then he laid me on my back and stuck his tongue down my throat. He had the sweetest smelling breath. His mouth tasted of peppermint and mouthwash. His neck smelt of Burberry's men cologne. I sucked on his bottom lip while he placed his hand gently up the small of my back. I felt like a delicate flower in his arms. He laid back and pulled me on top of him. I was seconds away from licking his face. While I was on top of Brian kissing him, I could feel him kicking his shoes off. So I stopped kissing him, and while straddling his lap, I unbuttoned his pants and he adjusted me to remove his shirt. Brian and I were naked within seconds. Brian then took control without saying a word. Now, I may have to cut y'all hoes off for this one because it gets a little steamy, bitch. It gets a little wild. Hmm? TikTok gonna be like, I know you fucking lying. Hold on, y'all. Woo! Yeah, your comments, Allison. Somebody said some comments on filter. Your comments when you put all the fire things or something. Um, I don't know why it is. TikTok does that. Hold on, y'all. Wait, I bet I forgot why I left off. Damn. Hold on. Okay. Woo. Okay, hold on. He took his time. Not you over there clutching your pearls. Brian then took control without saying a word. Okay. He took his time exploring my body. I was so anxious because I could feel his 10-inch rock hard penis on my thigh. And I wanted to enjoy the moment, but foreplay has never been my thing. See, the girl, she was wet and ready. And with a swift shift of my hips, Brian was inside of me. The sheer mass of his manhood took my breath away. We had sex for at least an hour. At one point, I couldn't feel my right hip, but at that point, I didn't even care. After an amazing sexual encounter, we lay next to each other in silence. I was confused as to what to do next. I assumed Brian enjoyed himself, but he hadn't said a word. In order to break the awkward silence, I raised up to go to the bathroom to retrieve face cloths for Brian and I when he grabbed my arm and pulled me close to his body. Placing my head on his hairy chest, he told me not to move because we were not finished yet. I'm not sure what time Brian and I fell asleep, but the sunlight woke me up and I jumped up once I realized that we had slept the night away. I was hoping that Brian would not be upset since we fell asleep. I admit that I watched him sleep for 5 minutes before I awoke the sleeping giant. I prepared myself for Brian to leave abruptly, but I was pleasantly surprised when I woke him up and he smiled and said, "Good morning, Ball. Let's go get some breakfast." Luckily, my kids were spending the day at my grandmother's house, so I was free for the most part of the day. We washed our face and brushed our teeth. Thank God I kept new toothbrushes at my house and rode to my breakfast place to pick up our to go order and spent the remainder of the morning cuddled on the couch. Brian left around 2 p.m. and I ran and jumped into bed. I was super tired. Plus, I wanted to smell his cologne on my sheets. The butterflies in my stomach were alive and well. I think I'm in love. Ooh, it's getting good. Hold on, y'all. Just need to refresh. I'm about to read for another 11 minutes and then I'm going to give it a break because I feel my throat starting to get scratchy. And I need to eat something or do something. Whew. Okay. I need to make some tea. For real. Yeah, I need to make some tea. All right. Let's get back into it. You say this is good. Now, this book, my original book, is available on Amazon, or you can go to iamcoachmissy.com and click on Coach Missy's bookshelf. You can get the book. If you could go, you can go on Amazon and put my name, put Misty D. Scott author, or you can Google Misty D. Scott author, and my books will pop up on Google. So you can buy the original book. I tell y'all, there are typos on here. I wrote the book when I had COVID back in 2021. I wrote this bitch on an iPhone, okay? I wrote this bitch on an iPhone. All right. So, okay. But I'm going to do a re release in January to celebrate 5 years of the book first being released. I have other books. I got a lot of other books. And I'm going to add the additional commentary. I'm going to add follow up after every story to let you know what happened with these people. Now, I was going, you know what? I was gonna do that in honorable mentions. I was going to. No, I'm not gonna add. I'm gonna correct the stories. I might give y'all a little more, rah, 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 but I'm gonna do the follow up in honorable mentions because all of these people I dealt with again. It. All right. Hold on. Over the next couple weeks, I hung out with Justin and Brian. Justin and I would meet up for more exclusive dates such as dinner and movies. I know you fucking lying. Bitch, I just belched. Okay. Listen, you said you want me to do a podcast with the characters. Uh, some of these motherfuckers, I can't invite these niggas. I can't do, I can't do a podcast with these niggas if I'm a married Cardinal. I can't even believe I'm in his house doing this goddamn audio. Well, I told him I'm doing an audiobook. No, ma'am. Knock it off. I can't do a podcast and invite these niggas from my past to come on the podcast. Let's talk about it. I probably'd have to be married. Never. Cardinal would never. Cardinal blew a gasket when I had them fucking pajamas on last night. Mm-mm. Knock it off. Justin and I. Okay, hold on. Uh, okay, hold on. Justin and I would meet up for more exclusive dates, such as dinner and movies. Plus, I noticed that Justin was displaying a higher than normal level of affection, but I didn't overreact due to the fact that Justin stated he wasn't ready for a relationship. Brian had become a semi permanent fixture in my home. The kids loved him, and I loved the way he included the kids in our quality time while chilling at the house. Brian had also started to develop his own relationship with my oldest son based on their mutual love of video games. I could tell that Brian was a great dad and actively involved with his children. I was attracted more to Brian's character than his looks. Brian had truly won me over. I knew Brian was open to a relationship, but he was very cautious due to his last breakup. I wanted to ask Brian so bad what direction we were moving in. However, I believe that you shouldn't have to ask a man about his feelings for you because a real man will make his intentions known. Plus, I was still dealing with Justin, so I wasn't 100% free myself. I had a good thing going weekdays with Brian and weekends with Justin, and Sunday was family day with the kids. I was living a high life, but everything must come to an end. Labor Day is one of my favorite holidays because the weather is not too hot and not too cold. My kids would always hang out with their father's side of the family so I could get a break. I hate family gatherings and friendly cookouts, so I was accustomed to eating regular food and waiting on my kids to bring me a to-go plate when they came home the next day. And as a bonus, Law and Order Marathon would be on several cable channels starting at 7 a.m. So that's what I would watch. This was the life. Now, I don't have expectations of the men I'm dating during the holidays if we are not in a relationship. I don't stress invites because I'm not into meeting the guy's family. So I send out the traditional good morning, happy Labor Day text and turn my attention to my serial and Law and Order marathon. Again, life is good. As expected, I received text messages from Justin and Brian, both asking me if I was with my family at the cookout, and I simply replied no. I had fell asleep around noon only to be awakened by a phone call. It was Justin. Justin said, "Hey, love, how are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm great. Watching TV butt naked on the couch eating snacks." I could hear a lot of noise outside. Where you at, Lukeester Park? Justin said, "Yeah, I'm up here at my family cookout playing dominoes, smoking on some good." I said, "Well, Justin, that sounds good to me. I know it's hella people at the park today. That weather is so nice." Justin said, "Hell yeah, it has to be about 10 different picnics going on. I could barely find a place to park. I ran into some people we went to high school with, and a couple of us are planning on meeting at the bar tonight. You should come hang with us." I said, "Well, I'll think about it. I got to see when the kids are coming home." Justin said, "I understand. What are you eating today?" My reply was cereal. Justin said, "Cereal?" I said, "Yes, boy, cereal." He said, "Now I know you want some barbecue inside. Shit, who eats cereal on Labor Day?" I said, "I eat cereal on Labor Day. I should have a plate tomorrow from my ex's house. The kids never let me down." Justin said, "You don't have to wait until tomorrow for a plate. I can bring you one." I said, "Bring me a plate?" Well, that's a new one. You don't even know where I live. I appreciate the offer. Would you like me to meet you somewhere? Justin said, no. I figure it's time I stop by. We've been meeting up for months. Plus, I want to see your spot. I said, okay, well, text or call me when you're ready so I can send you the address. Justin said, cool. I've been seeing your pretty face anyway. I said, well, I almost miss you too. What the fuck had just happened? Now, Justin has never expressed an interest in coming over or told me that he missed me. He must be high as hell, but I could use a plate, and I'm not worried about Justin knowing where I stay because I know he's not the type to pop up without calling. And at this rate, I only see him on Saturdays and late night, which is exactly the time when Brian is at home with his kids, so I should be in the clear. Damn, today is going to be great. I might even get some. An hour after Justin's call, I received a phone call from Brian. Brian say, hey, Butterball. What you doing, Butterball? I say, hey, Boo. Butt naked on the couch watching TV. Brian said, oh, yeah, what you watching, love? I said, my favorite show. I mean, our favorite show, Law and Order. Brian said, how many times you going to watch that show? You know there are other TV shows you can watch. I'm starting to think you like iced tea. I said, well, I could use a sweet tea. But I love the storyline, so leave me alone about my show. Brian said, speaking of sweet tea, what are you eating? I said, cereal. Brian said, nah, Butterball, you need some real food. My mom and aunties cooked everything you could think of. I'm going to bring you a plate, okay? I was like, oh, Zaddy, that is so nice. You always look out for me. When do you want to come by? Brian said, give me an hour. I said, bet. Brian said, you miss me, Butterball? I said, all the time, sunshine. He said, I'll call you when I'm leaving. I said, cool. Okay, now this is easy. Justin needs my address, and he's in the middle of a domino game. And I know Brian isn't going to stay long because his kids are at the park. Two plates, two hugs, and two possible dick appointments in the same day. Your girl is winning. Nothing can go wrong. Meanwhile, at the park, Justin says, say, bro, get off the damn phone. We trying to finish this game. Who are you on the phone making love to? Brian says, sit your hating ass down, Justin. You need a girl in your life and maybe you'll stop running the street. Justin said, fool on you. Shit, I might have a girl. Brian said, who? You know damn well you have a stable of hoes and started laughing. Justin said, actually, I got a little chick across town that I've been chilling with and she's starting to grow on me. Matter of fact, I'm gonna fix her a plate and slide through later. Brian said, what? You fixing a chick a plate and taking it to her? Oh, she must be a bad bitch. Where you meet her at? At the strip club? The after hour spot? Justin said, nah, she a good girl. What about you? You said you was done with dating since you and Sharice broke up, and now you jump up every time your phone ring. What's going on with you? Brian said, you ain't the only one with a good girl. Matter of fact, let me fix my bay of plate before your greedy ass come and pack up everything. Justin said, well, do us both a favor and fix two plates and hurry up so we can get back to this game. Brian looked at Justin and laughed and said, I swear if you wasn't my brother. Once the Domino's game had ended, Brian announced that he was going to run an errand and that he would be back in 2 hours or less. The men of the family were not trying to hear that, so Justin volunteered to ride with Brian to ensure a speedy return. Since Brian was dropping off a plate to his girl, Justin decided to drop off a plate to his chick as well. Once in the car, Justin and Brian decided to show off their special ladies. Bitch, I swear to God. And yes, before y'all ask me, all this shit is true. Bitch, all this shit is true. Lord have mercy. Mm, Lord, thank you, Lord, for letting me live. Let's get back to the story. Hold on. Mm, my God. Woo! One, two, three. Oh, shit. My life is a lifetime movie. Like the craziest shit. I go through the craziest shit. Okay, I had to get that one out. Hold on. Brian says, I can't believe that you have someone. I didn't think you was ever going to settle down. Justin said, no one ever said I was ready to settle down. I just said she was special. Brian said, well, how does she make you feel? My girl make me feel like I can conquer the world. She provides me peace when my day is rough. She makes me laugh. And that ass is amazing. Shit, I'm just about over Sharice's ass, and she's a big reason why. Justin said, damn. Well, let me see what she looked like. Run that pic, bro. Brian said, no problem. Let me find a decent picture to show you. Can't be showing you all her goods. Scrolling through his phone. Here she goes, my little butterball. Justin says, wait a minute. Let me see that picture, man. Give me the phone. Snatching his brother's phone. What's her name? Brian said, Misty. Why, do you know her? He said, yeah, I know this motherfucker, all right. Let me show you something. Now Justin started scrolling through his phone. He said, does that tattoo look familiar? Brian said, get the fuck out of here. Where did you get this picture from, Justin? And how do you know Misty? Justin said, she's a chick I've been with. This is her plate. An awkward silence fell upon the car. At this moment, the brothers realized that they had been dating the same female, me. Justin burst out laughing and thanking God that the friendship didn't go any further. But Brian was silent. Without uttering a word, Brian starts his car and heads in the direction of my house. Justin decides not to question his brother if he needs time to blow off some steam. But once Justin realizes that Brian was entering a residential neighborhood, he realizes that he just wasn't driving around, he was driving to Misty's house. Justin said, hey, bro, where we going? Brian said, you know where we going. Justin said, so we just gonna pop up over there? That's crazy. Man, just let that shit go. She couldn't have known. Brian said, all the time I spent with her and her kids, spending the night, spending my money, and she laid up with you when I'm not around. She got me fucked up. We going over there. Justin said, promise me that you are not going to clown over there. I have warrants and I'm not going to jail over a piece of pussy. You better believe that. You need to get out your feelings for real. Why are we stopping? Brian said, this is her house. Justin said, now what? Brian said, this is the plan. It's been an hour since Brian said he would bring me a plate. I should probably call him to see if he had left yet. I'm glad Justin hasn't called me back because I really need him to come over later. Just as I'm picking up my phone to call Brian, I hear a knock on the door. Damn, Brian is right on time. I open up the door, naked as a jaybird, with a bowl of Captain Crunch in my hand. As I'm looking for a place to sit my cereal down and hug Brian, I hear a familiar voice and I realize it's not Brian. It's Justin standing at my door. All right, y'all. I'm gonna stop right there for today. Woo! That shit was getting good, bitch. My oh my oh my. We're gonna stop right there and I'll pick back up on this. Y'all can buy the book off of Amazon and read it. I stopped on if you got the book or you want to get the you can get it on Kindle too. I'm on page 89. That's where I stopped at the bottom of page 89. That was a we did a good job. We did all of this for audiobook today. I did two and a half stories basically. So nigga, we made it. All right. I'm going to stop right there. I'm about to stop right there. I hope y'all had a good time. Thank you for rocking with me. I will be back later on tonight to do my regular live, do the readings and all that good stuff. Um, Listen, thank y'all. Y'all been asking me for audiobooks for years, and I've been bullshitting it. And I was like, I got a little extra time on my hands. So I'm recording the audiobook. So after I record this one, then I'm going to do um well after I do, so I'm gonna say this. After I do this one, after I do this one, I'm gonna start working on Girl Fuck You. I'm because Girl Fuck You, these are like like I'm gonna start working on Girl Fuck You. That's what I'm gonna start doing. And then I'm gonna do Girl Fuck You kind of in between because it's easier to do these books that have like shorter lessons or whatever than it is to do these chapter books are crazy. And this book is longer than the other one. This book got almost 200 pages to it. This is my second book, which is Crazy Love. This shit was crazy. This one got four stories in it. Donut Day going up 9 to 5 and 2 for 20, and then the sneak peek of G and Gia. Um, you said you've been asking for audiobooks. Yeah, y'all been asking for audiobooks for a long time. So I listen, I'm having a good time. It's fun. I'm thank y'all for joining me. I'm about to go ahead and get off. I know I got an appointment in like 25 minutes. So I need to just go ahead and rest. And I'll see y'all later. We're going to have fun Friday. We're going to have $20 readings, holiday readings, 2026 wealth. Where's my bay? And then y'all can pick some other readings. Also, two specific and detailed questions. Oh, y'all, I did finish Girl, that is not your man. So that ebook should be, I mean, that audiobook should be ready. Girl, that is not your man. That's like a self-help book, and that book should be ready by next week, and it'll be on anywhere you can get a audio book. It'll be on all platforms by next week. Okay. All right. Listen, thank y'all so much. TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, everybody that's watching. I'll see y'all later, alligators. Go